Good evening, everybody, and thanks as always for joining us tonight here on Speed Racing Network. I'm Greg Olenek here with Brandon Domain, and we got some Speed Racing Network Truck Series action for you tonight. Brandon, how's it going?
It is fantastic because it is playoff season for the trucks finally. About a week behind the rest of us that got started last week, but with the iRacing server issue a few weeks back at Darlington, we pushed it back a week, and excited to get this going with our original 15 plus the lucky dog winner that's going to be added to the playoff after tonight. So a lot of excitement here as we get ready for Kentucky. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good, yeah. It's definitely playoff season. You could tell that the anxiety is heightened a little bit throughout the whole three series, and yeah, the truck's starting a week late, but getting started here tonight at Kentucky. Definitely gonna be a lot of headlines out there on the track tonight with that lucky dog going on for that 16th position, as well as the other 15 that are going to be battling to get into the top 10 to make the next round. But yeah, it's going to be a fun one. We had a great one last week at Las Vegas. A lot of shuffling in the standings, and it's going to be just as good tonight here at Kentucky for the BlueGrass. 125, we got 85 laps, and one faster pair as always.
And that fast repair could come in big time handy for these guys, because what we saw last week at Vegas was we saw a real aggressive start for a lot of drivers, and it did lead to that early caution that we saw. And I kind of expect to see something similar tonight just because of the anxiety that everybody's going to have. There's a lot of adrenaline going with the start of the playoffs, and we've got two different races going on at the same time. Kind of like if you want to compare it to like IMSA or something, we've got two different classes where we got the guys that are already in the playoffs and the guys trying to get into the playoffs. Just a whole lot of excitement that's going to be out on the track, and it might be hard to harness there early on.
Yeah, well, three races technically with the team championship as well. That's going to be kicking off this week in playoff round of 15, week 1 here. But moving on here in the Healthcare Bill Incorporated pre-race show, as always, we give you a rundown of what we do here at SRN. It's a 20-week fixed setup league. We're currently in week 14. One fast pair only for these truck guys this season, and they're paying $5 a week to get in on the action, and that's going to put them up for weekly as well as season payouts if they finish good enough. $300 going to the first place champion, 5-person teams as well, like I just mentioned, and they're going to be battling for a $100 team championship.
Yeah, and that's, you know, those $5 a week entry fees, you kind of think, oh, that's not a whole lot, but it does build up in what we pay out, whether it be the season long or the weekly payouts. And that team championship, this is the first time we're going to see this start to play out for the trucks. We saw week 1 of it in the Xfinity and the Cup Series last week at Vegas, and it's off to a real interesting start because we kind of went bracket style, more traditional sports, where it's 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, so on and so on, and it's led to some real interesting strategies that we're seeing from some of these teams. I expect to see similar here in the trucks.
Yeah, it'll be really exciting once we get into the thick of it with all these different races taking place out there on the track. But let's go ahead now and see what they are racing for here tonight at Kentucky for the BlueGrass 125. First place going to come away with $15. Second place going to get $10. Third through fifth getting their money back.
And there's a few drivers that have really put aside some pretty decent money here this season just by building up those weekly payouts, whether it be just chipping away top 5s and not having to pay for the next week's race, or just putting together some wins like we've seen from Jonathan Byer, for example, that had a great run going for a lot of weeks, points leader coming into this, set aside a good bit of money. I think his season's pretty much paid off already entirely before we even get to the season-long purse.
Yeah, and I mean, you can start putting that money towards other things as well here on the iRacing service. It definitely adds up, like you said, after a while. But now let's check out the season payouts, what everybody's racing for now that the playoffs have started. First place going to come away with $300. Second place going to get $150. Third going to come away with $90. Fourth going to get $60. And then fifth, if you make that final spot in the final round, you're going to be guaranteed $40. And we're also paying 6th through 8th as well this year, to give those guys a little incentive to show up and shell out on that last week. 6th place going to come away with $30. 7th getting $20, and then 8th place going to get $10.
Yeah, so half the playoff field going to walk away with a little extra money in their pocket, leading up to that first place winner getting $300, which is not bad at all for a season. That costs $100 for if you're doing all 20 races and the entry fees. And I'm assuming if you win the championship, you probably added some weekly money as well.
Yeah, so it definitely starts to fill up your pockets here. And you know what? It's probably a good time to do so, considering that we are going to be here in Christmas season not too far from now. So you know what? You might be given a little extra incentive to race for this championship here at SRN. But moving on here in the Healthcare Billing Incorporated pre-race show, let's go ahead and check out this week's Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week.
This week's Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week comes out of Creature Comforts Brewing Company in Georgia. Creature Comforts has a year-round IPA called Tropicalia that has truly made a name for itself over the years. To build on that popularity, Creature Comforts has released a few variations of Tropicalia, like Tropicalisma and Double Dry Hop Trop. But this week's Beer of the Week, Imperial Trop Haze, is truly the icing on a very hoppy cake. Trop Haze is built on the same base as Tropicalia with Citra, Centennial, and Galaxy hops, but it's way hazier and much bolder with 8% alcohol by volume. So be on the lookout for Imperial Trop Haze Double IPA hitting the shelves later this month. The Beer of the Week is sponsored by BeerStreetJournal.com, the leading online publication for craft beer reviews. Go to BeerStreetJournal.com to find your next great beer. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly.
Well, thanks as always to Beer Street Journal for this week's Beer of the Week and its Creature Comforts Brewing Company's Imperial Trop Haze Double IPA. And Brandon, this isn't too far from you. You're an Atlanta boy, so you've had Creature Comforts. You like it?
I do like Creature Comforts. Been to the brewery actually as well. They got the Tropicalia that this is based off of, and a big fan of that one. So this is going to be something I'll definitely keep an eye on for sure.
All right. Well, if it's something else that you guys out there in the YouTube world or Facebook world rather want to check out, go ahead and check out BeerStreetJournal.com to learn more about this week's Beer of the Week. And you can also find a lot more beers on there as well that they've reviewed. So thanks as always to Beer Street Journal for coming on board this season with SRN. But let's go ahead and check out the team championship brackets for this season. We've been waiting. We've been teasing this all year long. And here it is finally on your screen. Jonathan Byer Racing going to be up against Bobby Anderson Racing. And then you have Rev Racing, the 2 seed, up against Stryker Motorsports. Next Level Motorsports up against the Do-Gooders. And Zuyos Racing and Tank Racing going to be that tight 4-5 matchup.
And honestly, the one that's really catching my eye, aside from the little bit of personal one that you and I are going to have a little bit with that 2-7, but the 1-8 is actually real interesting to me. And Jonathan Byer Racing has been real, just fantastic all season long. Bobby Anderson Racing, kind of the sleeper in this though, because they are a little short-handed. They came together late in the season, which kind of got them starting behind the 8 ball there. But they've been real strong when they get all 3 of their guys on the track at once. They could be a solid challenge for JBR to clear in that first round. Not necessarily an easy 1-8 matchup.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and break that matchup down a little bit more here. Let's get into Jonathan Byer Racing and show their roster. We've shown it to you guys all year long, and they've put it out there on the track. These guys are for real here. Kyle Wimble in the 3 truck, the 13 of Landon Cardullo showing some really good speed out there. 1 win to his name already this season. The 35 of Jack Johnson and the 66 of Jonathan Byer, who had those back-to-back wins earlier on this year. And then the 75 of James Kerr is going to be racing to be that playoff lucky dog, to be that 16th contender here tonight.
And there's no surprise they're the number 1 seed. They've been the best team since the start of the season. 4 of their drivers in the playoff, 1 nearly making it with James Kerr, but he is going to be charging hard, as you said, for that lucky dog tonight.
Let's go ahead and check out Bobby Anderson Racing, that team that you said could be a spoiler here in this playoff bracket, the 1 versus 8 matchup. You don't want to be the one that slips against that bottom team, but this one is definitely one that can contend with Jonathan Byer Racing. Bobby Anderson in the 18, the 54 of Jason Kraki, as well as the 55 of Michael Amenti can all be up there in the top 10 at any given moment.
And their only problem is going to be that they are short-handed. We take the highest 3 scorers every single week, and JBR has 5 to pick from. Bobby Anderson Racing has just 3 to pick from, so one of them has a mistake. That's going to put them in some early trouble in this matchup. But all 3 of their drivers very good, especially at tracks like Kentucky.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to that 2-7 matchup, Brandon, the one between my team and your team, Rev Racing versus Striker Motorsports. And I'll check out Rev Racing here first. They got the 7 of Lucas Lyons, who's still trying to break through and get that first win on the season. The 15 of Michael Madden, who's fast every week. The 29 of Sean Jensick, who's gone back-to-back here the last 2 weeks. He's up to 3 wins. You can't see it because the Healthcare Bill Incorporated pre-race show logo is just blocking him out. The 97 of Sean Kosher and the 12 of Cody Riggs going to round out their roster.
Yeah, and this is that little personal rivalry matchup of ours, and I can say this is definitely a team that is very, very good and very deserving of that number 2 spot entering things. And you mentioned Sean Jensick. All the momentum in the world right now in this series might be somebody to keep an eye on individually as well.
Well, yeah, let's not forget your team here, though, Brandon, Striker Motorsports.
Yeah, and with Striker, the big problem there has just been getting everybody on the track at the same time and then keeping them on the track tonight. So it's just been kind of shorthanded at times, and they've kind of hit some issues on the track pretty randomly at times as well. But it's going to be the 1 of Matt Johnson, the 9 of Tevin Whitner, the 33 of Don Milkowitz, 42 of Kevin Winker, who was very close to getting into the top 15 and locking up the playoff spot after last week, and then the 71 of Travis Trevelyan.
Yeah, so we'll see if they can get the guys out there tonight to make a push and maybe upset the 2 seed of Rev'd Racing. But now let's go ahead and move on to that 3-6 matchup, Next Level Motorsports against the Do-Gooders. And we will take a look at Next Level Motorsports first, and they have quite a pretty good roster as well. These top 3 teams here in the Truck Series, really the top 4 have really had a great season with Zuyos being included there. But they got the 5 of Michael York, who sneaked his way into the playoffs last week. The 85 of Brad Herman also sneaking his way inside that top 15. And then you got Troy Techmeyer in the 32, Stan Carnathan, a newcomer this year in the 43, and the 69 of Brad Rivers, who has been, running consistently in the top 10 these past couple of weeks.
And this is an interesting team this week, and how they approach this team playoff and how they approach the individual playoffs and the lucky dog, just because of the balance that they have. They got 3 guys all trying to race their way into the playoffs, so I'm not too sure if the team playoff is going to be on the forefront of their mind. So one mistake going for it, being aggressive to get that 16th spot might cost them here in this one, but still a very solid team that could do very, very well throughout this entire playoff.
Yeah, but don't overlook the do-gooders here in the 6th seed. They got Danny Setzer out there in the 17, Taylor Smith in the 24, who's running really good. Joseph Dupont in the 88 has had a really good season this year as well. And the 90 of Corey Knight can be up there from time to time in the top 10, top 20, mixing it up. And then the 239 of Joey Farrell.
And Joseph Dupont's gotten a lot of the attention on this team, but keep an eye tonight on Taylor Smith, had a top 10 at Kentucky last season.
All right, let's go ahead and check out this 4-5 matchup here between Zuyos Racing and Tank Racing. This will be the tightest matchup on the track, I believe, because all these teams are out there every week, each driver, so they are going to be really competitive amongst these guys here. But Zuyos has Blair Holloman with a win to his name, Dave Hughes Jr., who was running up towards the front, trying and got ever so close to making it inside the top 15. He's going to be trying to be the playoff lucky dog tonight. The 98 of Rob Yost, who also got left out, will be trying to be that playoff lucky dog. And the 99 of Mike Mosby as well.
And they're going to have a similar thing as Next Level does, where you got 2 guys really gunning to get that playoff lucky dog. One to definitely keep your eye on tonight. That's 16 of Dave Fuge Jr. Great run at Vegas, another 1.5-mile track last week. He was the fastest in practice that just wrapped up.
Well, let's check out Tank Racing here, the 5 seed in the playoff for the team championship tonight. And they got the 25 of Jacob Zala with his win at Darlington heading out there tonight. Josh Mueller in the 26, Bruce Amsden in the 63, who's sitting outside the playoffs. Walt Lipicki in the 64 and Jeremy Duncan in the 79. And this will be a really good matchup between these 2 teams.
I really like this matchup as well, and this is a team that's really improved. You know, a lot of the attention goes to Zala and Mueller for being playoff drivers, but I think there's been improvement over the course of the season from their other three, and that could lead to an interesting race here between the 4 and the 5.
Let's go ahead and check out these individual standings before introducing each one of these guys. Jonathan Byer sitting atop there with 20 bonus points to his name. He's got a 3-point advantage over Sean Jensick and Landon Cardullo. Blair Holloman and Michael Madden going to round out your top 5. Both of them tied with 4th with 13 bonus points to their name.
And the ones that are going to be just outside, trying to move their way up outside into the top 10, which will be the cut after the next 3 races, Joseph Dupont, Josh Mueller, Jack Johnson, and Mike Mosby. They are not far off, all within at least, or no more than 5 points.
Well, let's go ahead and introduce these guys to you. We got Jonathan Byer out there. He's got 2 wins this season, an average start of 14th, and an average finish of 6th. And I already mentioned the 20 bonus points that he'll be starting with. This is going to be the guy to watch this season in the playoffs.
A tremendous head start for him. Another great head start and a ton of momentum for Sean Jensick in the 29. 3 wins this season, including the last 2 races. Average start and finish inside the top 10. Impressive season for the newcomer here to SRN.
Moving on now, let's go ahead and bring in Landon Cardullo. 1 win this year out of California. Average start of 10th, average finish 9th, starting with bonus points 17 in his pocket.
Somebody that's gotten real hot the past few weeks here as this regular season came to close is Blair Holloman in the 06. Picked up that win at Watkins Glen. Always seems to start inside the top 10. Most of his finishes as well inside the top 10. And you see it there starting with those 6 bonus points from the regular season.
Well, Michael Madden sitting there tied with Blair Holloman. He's got 1 win to his name this year. Average start 6th, average finish inside the top 10. Also starting with 13 points, and he's running for Rev Racing, and they're going to be battling for that team championship as well. So a lot to race for Michael Madden tonight.
1 point behind him is going to be Jacob Zala, who comes into this at 2,012 points. Picked up his win at Darlington earlier in the season for our broadcast partner on Thursday nights. Average start of 14th, average finish of 17th. That's been kind of an up and down season, but when he is on, he is really on.
All right, moving down the list, we're going to bring in Lucas Lyons, racing out of Kentucky for Rev Racing. He's got a best finish of 2nd. Like I said, been itching so close to that first win. Average start 11th, average finish 16th, and he's got 11 bonus points to his name. Look out for Lucas Lyons tonight.
He has been real good as of late, as has Brad Herman, one of the Next Level Motorsports drivers out of New York. 1 win this season a few weeks back, and just look at that. Average start, average finish, 6th start, 9th on the finish, 10 bonus points coming into this. Had a late start to the season, but has been very, very good since he joined.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on now and bring in Kyle Wimble in the 3 machine, racing out of North Carolina. Best finish so far this year, a 3rd, average start 20th, and an average finish of 18th. He's going to be starting with 7 bonus points, and he made a late run last year in the playoffs in the Truck Series, so he knows what to do to get to the end here, so we'll see what he can do this year.
Another one of the championship's 6 from last season is Bobby Anderson, the team captain of Bobby Anderson Racing, obviously. Best finish this season 7th, but he has been ultra consistent in that process. Average start of 12th, average finish of 18th. He's had a couple of rough ones in there, but for the most part, always hanging around the top 10. He also comes in tied for 9th at 2,007 points.
All right, well, let's go ahead and bring in Michael York, one of those drivers that snuck in last week, racing for Next Level Motorsports out of Indiana. Best finish, I believe, was last week, coming home in 3rd. And we heard just how excited he was to be in these playoffs in that post-race interview. Average start 21st, average finish of 20th, and starting with 7 bonus points to his name. So we'll see how far he can go after sneaking in last week.
First driver that will be outside of the cut looking in as we start the playoff is Joseph Dupont, the do-gooders' lone playoff driver thus far. Best finish of the season 6th. The average start is of 19th, but he does normally move up through the field. He's one of those Chargers. Average finish to 16th, but he is coming in 2 points behind that tie for 9th that would currently leave him outside looking in.
All right, let's go ahead and bring in Josh Mueller out of Tank Racing. Racing out of Wisconsin, best finish of 4th this year. Average start 16th, Average finish going to be 14th. Starting with 2 bonus points, another one of those drivers going to be looking to make up some points to get inside that top 10 to move into the next round.
14th place is going to be the 4th JBR driver, and that's Jack Johnson. It does have a runner-up finish this season, but as you can see, it's been a bit up and down. Average start at 21st, average finish of 15th. Has those 2 bonus points, so he's going to be 5 points out at the start of the playoff.
And our final playoff driver going to be Mike Mosby, racing out of Zuyos Racing from Ohio. Best finish this year, going to be 4th. Average start 11th, average finish 17th. Starting with 2 bonus points, but Mike Mosby has consistently been running in the top 10 with these guys, so I look to see exactly that tonight at Kentucky. But let's go ahead and bring up our starting lineup tonight, and just for some discretion, the 6th or the green numbers are going to be those drivers that are inside the playoffs. The yellow numbers will be those drivers that are racing for the playoff lucky dog. So essentially just everybody outside of the playoffs. So keep an eye on that tonight to see how the field is shaping up. But Michael Madden going to be our pole sitter tonight for Rev Racing. Jonathan Byer, our number 1 contender here in the playoffs, going to be in 2nd. Don Milkowicz out of Stryker going to be 3rd. Mike Mosby rounding out our top 4.
In row number 3, we'll have Kyle Wimble starting in the 5th position in the 3 truck. And then it's our back-to-back race winner entering the playoffs. Sean Jensick will be on the outside of row 3. Row 4, Brad Herman for Next Level Motorsports. And then one of our other Lucky Dog contenders, Jason Kraki, had a good finish here last season. He'll be starting in 8th.
Starting in 9th will be Kevin Wanker out of Stryker. So a lot of Stryker guys up here in the top 12. I'll tell you, they're going to be a contender here with Rev Racing for that team playoff championship. Lucas Lyons sitting there in the top 10 as well, going to be 10th tonight. Bradley Rivers in 11th, and Blair Holloman going to round out our top 12 out of Zuyos Racing. So quite the top 12 we have for the BlueGrass 125 at Kentucky Speedway. Brandon, who do you have your eye on bringing home the hardware tonight?
You know, it's almost going to feel like a bit of a cop-out, but I kind of relate this track more to Nashville than I do Vegas or Kansas, just because it's flatter, it's a lot less consistent, and I can't look past the JBR 1-2-3 podium sweep, and that was led by the team captain, Jonathan Byer. He's going to be starting on the outside of row 1. He won there at Nashville, always seems good on the 1.5 miles and pretty much everywhere else. I'm going to take the safe play today and go with the 66.
All right, well, I'm going to go a few rows back. I'm going to go with the 7 of Lucas Lyons tonight. I think we're going to have a first-time winner here, and I'm going to say that for a couple of reasons. First off, he's racing with my spotter tonight, so I know Kyle Speeds can get him there to the end in a position where he needs to be, and Lucas has been knocking on the door of getting that first win this year. And also, man, he's just running for Daniel Keith Jr.'s family right now. We want to keep them in our thoughts and prayers. You see it there. Pray for Ken. There's a lot going on in that family, so they can use the prayers. I'm going with Lucas Lyons tonight.
Not a bad pick either, and definitely want to send my thoughts out to Daniel Keith Jr.'s family as well. No, there's a lot going on there. But we're about ready here to get started with the playoff action for the Truck Series, and doing it at Kentucky for race 1 of 3 here in the opening round.
Yeah, and you'll notice the blue banners. That's how you can tell on track who are our playoff drivers. You'll also see the blue spoilers too. That's going to signify who is battling for that team or that individual championship, excuse me. But pace car is off, and Michael Madden gets a good jump on the field, gets a 1 or 2 car gap between him and Jonathan Byer. So Michael Madden kicks off the BlueGrass 125 tonight.
And that is not a shock, seeing Michael Madden do what Michael Madden does. When he is out in front on a start or a restart, he is just fantastic on getting a great jump going into turn 1. We saw it again there, but a good run coming out of turn 2 by Jonathan Byer, and that pulled him right back towards that back bumper.
Yeah, we're going to see a few lines of these guys are going to take here through turns 3 and 4 primarily. You can really run all the way up that track if you want to find some speed down the front stretch. So that's why you saw Michael Madden opting to take that middle lane, and Jonathan Byer running more so towards the line, and that's just going to give Michael Madden even more of a gap as he was able to get a run out of turn 4 here that last time around. But yeah, we'll see if he does that again here on the middle line. Yep, that's what he's going to opt to do here just above that seam. He's going to find a little more speed for that 15.
And this is going to be a real interesting race tonight because this is a very different track than what we saw last week at Vegas. So you kind of think, oh, it's a mile and a half tri-oval, but this is so much flatter. It's wider than Las Vegas is, but it's similar to Texas in a way where one end is so completely different than the other in terms of the banking. It's 17 degrees in 1 and 2. 14 in 3 and 4, and that makes it where you can about go flat out in 1 and 2. You cannot come close to doing that in these trucks in 3 and 4, though.
Yeah, you asked me what this track compares to, and I really didn't have an answer for you. It's one of a kind on the NASCAR circuit, but one of my favorite. I love coming to Kentucky Speedway. It's going to make for some great racing here as we see Kyle Wimple, Mike Mosby side by side. That's going to try and get Lyons to get to the inside of Mike Mosby as well. All playoff drivers inside the top 10 except for that 33 of Don Milkowicz. He is going to be your playoff lucky dog contender right now with not many people in sight. The next one behind him sitting in 11th. That's the 54 of Jason Kraki.
And Jason Kraki kind of shuffled out of line from everybody else, getting pinned on the outside. But for Don Milkowicz, this has been a rough season for him because he's shown a lot of moments of just having great speed inside that 33 truck and then just getting caught in these most random cautions that seem to always happen around him. Really talented driver, just has had some horrible luck this season.
Happens to the best of us, but that's why SRN really wanted to bring on this playoff lucky dog to give those guys one more chance to get in on the action to race for that $300 prize at the end of the season. So if Don Milkowicz can keep it up, it's still really early. He will be in the playoffs, but right now, not much gap being had between Michael Madden and Jonathan Byer. That gap staying about a quarter of a second, and the 66 not letting the 15 get too far away here.
This kind of feels like a Jonathan Byer style move, honestly. Just there's no pressure. It's lap 6. There's 80 laps to go, about to be 79. Plenty of time left in this race. So you're going to have 2 pit stops at least left in this race as well. So he's not really feeling that pressure that he has to get around the 15 right now. I think he just knows in time his moment will come and he'll take it when it gets there.
Yeah, this also says a lot about being, a veteran here in SRN. Both of these guys up front, Jonathan Byer, Michael Madden, raced last year in the playoffs, so they know how to deal with the pressure, and they're just kind of taking it easy right now, knowing there is a lot of time left in this race as well as the playoffs. So we'll see how it works out between the two. But Sean Jensic going to look to probably make a move here on Don Milkowicz here not too far from now as he is closing the gap to the 33. We'll see if Jensic can get up here and battle with these guys.
That's going to be the real interesting race that Don Milkowicz is going to have. As long as he's kind of clear of everybody else in this lucky dog battle, he starts feeling pressure from behind from Sean Jensic or anybody else that starts moving into that picture. You kind of want to hold on to your position because you're a racer, but at the same time, you got to be kind of thinking, I don't want to put anything at risk. I'm in a great spot at this point, knowing that there's a good 8 trucks between me and the next one that's going to be eligible for that lucky dog. Granted, it is still early. So that kind of even adds more to that. You don't want to risk anything. But I think in his position, he's just got to be real careful in finding that balance.
Well, let's go ahead and head back here with Sean Kozier and see what the action's heading on, because I just saw these guys 3 wide not too long ago with Bruce Amsted, Michael York in the mix back here, Stan Carnathan and Joseph Dupont. All these guys were side by side, and they are battling back here for about 20th place.
Oh, Joseph Dupont in that 88 truck wants no part of this 3 wide that he's in right now. He's the only playoff driver in this big mix-up. As you saw Michael York move just ahead of this pack. So DuPont's in this real danger zone on the track with a bunch of guys trying to pick up position and move into that lucky dog spot for the playoff to be the 16th driver. And then there's DuPont just sitting there like, oh, guys, please don't get too aggressive around me.
Yeah, he's going to have to work to take it easy with that 88 truck to not get it in any trouble. They're kind of sorted out back here. You got James Kerr back here in the mix as well. All these guys really trying to get that playoff lucky dog. But yeah, let's go ahead and go back up front. Don Milkowicz is falling back to 5th, so I'm not sure what happened to 33, but he is falling like a rock. Under attack now by Lucas Lyons. Could fall out of the top 5.
It looks like he's trying to run the high line, and I think at this point in the run, everybody's still got great speed on the inside line, especially through 3 and 4. I just heard an accident somewhere, some contact somewhere. Doesn't look like we got a caution out, but There's one truck in the pit. Sounds like it's Walt Lipicki. But going back to Don Milkowitz here, it looks like he's just kind of hung up on the outside. And this early in the run, there's not going to be a whole lot of speed in one of those real high lines compared to that inside, because they just got so much more grip still left in those tires.
Yeah, and Kentucky really makes it challenging on these drivers to really save their stuff. This is one of the harder tracks, I feel like, because it really sets you up to want to go fast around these turns and burn your stuff up. And you got to take it easy and try and be patient. I think we might be seeing what happened to Don Milkowitz as he was trying to hang in with the leaders up here, and he is really starting to fall. Now going to be under pressure. Yeah, between him and Brad Herman, they got really close right there.
And a long slide against the wall for the 33. Didn't look like it was that significant. Just a light brushing of it, but you could see the sparks flying off the truck. And no damage, it looks like, to that 33, so just kind of scraped along it just that little bit. So good news for Don Milkowitz in that 33 truck, but that's a close call there, getting up against that wall for a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah, Brad Herman going to take a look to the inside of that 33 to take that 6th place position away. Wow, they made contact!
Oh my goodness. Yeah, he got into the wall that little bit. Looks like he's going to be all right in terms of damage, but that is going to be a huge hit positionally on that truck. And yeah, he kind of flattened that right side a little bit. You can see the back end of that truck bowed up a little bit. So there's some pretty good sized damage all around, really, to that 33.
Yeah, he's going to have to hope for a caution to get that damage fixed with that one faster pair that these truck drivers are getting, but that is going to give up the playoff lucky dog spot to the 69 of Brad Rivers there, sitting in 10th now. We got a battle for the lead here at Kentucky. Michael Madden under attack from Jonathan Byer. These cars separated by maybe a half a truck. Man, it is heating up here on lap 16.
And just a sign of how good these two guys have been for not just this season, but going back to last season as well. They look so comfortable. They look so smooth while they're racing for the lead, and they've pulled away a 2.5 seconds from 3rd place through all of this. It's just, they are just looking so calm while racing for the lead this early. It just shows how much talent that is behind the wheel of those two trucks.
Oh, and I mean, it goes to show their talent as well with all the bonus points and their positioning in the playoff standings to start the playoffs as well. These guys know what they need to do, and now that the playoffs have started, they're going to take it up a notch and really go put it out there on the track. And you know what? I think that's why Michael Madden went back to his old school paint from last season, kind of trying to channel that run he made in the playoffs to make it to the end in Season 2 of SRN. So we will keep an eye on this battle as we take the stripe for lap 18 here tonight. But yeah, these guys going to be really getting bumper to bumper here shortly.
And if you're Michael Madden, you're kind of just sitting there thinking, you know what, if anybody to be right behind me, aside from a teammate, Jonathan Byer's not a bad one. Obviously the talent is there, the speed is there, he's the points leader, but he's also one of the cleanest drivers that we have in the league. So, I mean, that's why they're able to do what they're doing. They're racing each other tough, but at the same time they're pulling away because they're still giving each other that respect, and that's led to them just being able to run the laps that they want to run.
Yeah, definitely the two fastest trucks on the track right now, but Matthew Johnson, we'll take a look at him. He's moved up from 25th to 17th, trying to make a push for that lucky dog. He is only 8 spots back at Brad Rivers, but he is picking him up and putting him down here tonight. And he's got Don Milkowitz right in front of him, so Don Milkowitz has fallen from grace real hard, fighting to stay in 16th, and he's got a whole lot of trucks right on his bumper.
3 wide, and you can see how much space is still left, how wide this track is. And they're about to go 4 wide. Ooh. Going into 1. And,
oh, boy.
Oh, wow. I think that was that Brad Herman? Oh, excuse me, there was Troy Techmeyer on the inside that backed out of that. But it's going to put Don Milkowitz in the middle, 3 wide. Bobby Anderson on the inside, Matt Johnson on the outside. And look at all the space that they have, all the lines that you can take. You can make 3 or 4 wide work around here in these trucks, especially with all the downforce that they have.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, though, how wide this track is. It's playoff racing. You are trying your hardest to not wreck these guys that are battling here and not ruin your chances as well of making it into that playoffs with that lucky dog spot. So that was a nerve-wracking white-knuckle moment for all these guys. But they get it sorted out. Matt Johnson continues his push towards the front, up to 16th now. Next driver in front of him going to be Josh Mueller in the 26th. So we'll keep an eye on Matt Johnson's progress. All these striker guys seem to be running really good tonight, Brandon. Dom Milkowicz are running up there towards the front before hitting that wall. But all these guys, we're seeing them run up towards the front tonight.
Yeah, and I know that, as far as the team goes, not getting a driver into that playoff 15, that original group, it kind of stung. And I know that there's been a lot of intent of, let's go get that lucky dog. Let's get one of us to go get that thing and get a driver into the playoff. So there's a lot of team pride that's been going on right now for the truck team out of Stryker.
Yeah, a lot of growth for Stryker Motorsports for sure this season. Look forward to seeing that continue as we move on here in Season 2 of SRN. So let's go ahead and check out Jason Kraki, another one of those guys looking to get in on that lucky dog. He's sitting in 12th, not too far behind Brad Rivers. And Brad Rivers has to keep an eye on his rearview mirror as Dave Fuchs Jr. is just behind him, only a second and a half back of the 69. And we mentioned his name earlier on. Dave Fuchs Jr. is really good here at the mile and a half, so he could be one to get that spot.
Tremendous showing for him last week in Las Vegas, and Fuchs was the fastest in practice tonight in that 16 truck. So somebody that you definitely can think of as a favorite to get that lucky dog, but it's still Brad Rivers hanging on to that spot now by about a second and a tenth over Dave Fuchs Jr. And then you got to go back another second or so to get to Jason Kraki, that's holding the 12th position. So he's going to be third out of this lucky dog battle right now.
Yeah, and it's just kind of crazy to think we sit here on lap 25 here at Kentucky this week. We were last week at Las Vegas, and there were 0 Next Level Motorsports trucks sitting inside the playoffs. We could be sitting with 3 of them after just 1 week finding their way in the playoffs if it works out with Brad Rivers.
And that was what he talked about. Michael York was talking about heavy last week, was let's try to get 2 guys in here. Let's try to sneak another one in the original 15. And then next week, try to get that third in there. And that was their strategy, to try to get as many drivers as they could. And remember, they had that late start to the season, and a lot of their drivers came in a little bit late to the season as well. So the fact that they got 2 already locked in and possibly could have a third, super impressive from that team.
Well, just to give you an update on the top 5, we're going to take a look at Lucas Lyons making a pass on his teammate here, Sean Jensick. Lucas Lyons up to 4th from 10th. He is one of the fastest trucks out there, making some time up on the leaders as we speak. But realistically, all these trucks in the top 5 are practically running identical laps tonight, right now as we speak.
Yeah, not a whole lot of differential there. I think Madden and Bayer are still a little bit quicker than 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but it's not by much. We've only seen about 2/10 added the last 4 or 5 laps. And one thing to keep in mind, we're within about 10 laps or so from seeing pit stops, or at least the end of a fuel run here. So that's going to be happening pretty soon, and you're looking at, if this thing goes green the entire way, 2 pit stops are going to be needed. So there might be some strategy about cutting this race into like a 30, and a 25. Or right now coming in, hey, look at that. Kevin Winker going to make my point excellent here, as doing it right now and about breaking it into thirds.
Yeah, I was going to say, I fully expect to see this field pitting within the next 2 laps, and we just saw Kevin Winker making that first move. That's just going to start the whole train of trucks coming down pit road. And Kevin Winker, one of those drivers that we keep mentioning, sitting outside trying to get that lucky dog, trying to pick up some spots to get his name in the mix, to get that 16th spot. Let's see Dave Fuchs Jr. He gets on very cleanly. One of the easier pit road entries on the circuit here at Kentucky Speedway. So Dave Fuchs Jr. down for service.
And I like that it's a couple, and now 3 guys that are all racing for the lucky dog that are trying this early pit stop to try to pick up a little extra time. You're looking at about a second and a half, maybe up to 2 seconds on the drop-off at this point in the run in terms of lap times. So by doing this, by Kevin Winker coming in 2 or 3 laps ahead of everybody else for the most part, he's going to pick up a few spots. Sean Jensick's going to be the first of the race leaders that's going to make a pit stop.
Yeah, I just saw a whole bunch of people come over the comms. We see Bobby Anderson coming down pit road, Rob Yost coming down we got a whole slew of trucks. This looks like Cody Riggs in the 12 machine coming down. Man, Don Milkowicz needed to come down as early as he possibly could to get that damage fixed. That put him all the way back to 20th before pitting. So he has some ground to make up. Knows he has the speed in that 33 truck, but going to have a lot of work to do to get up towards the front. But here we see Mike Mosby coming down, and I believe that is Blair Holloman in the 06 Matco Tools. And then we got Jacob Zala coming down pit road as well. So a lot of our playoff drivers starting to come in. Bruce Amsden from Tank Racing also coming down that 63 machine.
And we also have Sean Kozier, a handful of others now making their way in. Zach Burgesson, one of those making a pit stop as well. And I kind of like how this is playing out, where the guys that are in the Lucky Dog race really all came together within about 2 or 3 laps, but out of the playoff drivers, we're seeing these guys kind of stretch it out a little bit more, and that kind of tells you the intensity levels in these 2 different groups that are on the track at the same time. If you're running for that Lucky Dog, you got to be aggressive tonight. You got to try to do everything you can to get that truck ahead of everybody else in the field. For these playoff drivers, they're just kind of sitting back and saying, I'm going to let this race come to me. I'm not going to pressure anything. I'm not going to force anything with an early pit stop. I'm just going to run what I'm comfortable with and just take it as it comes.
Yeah, our top 6 still opting to stay out. Actually, our top 7, excuse me, because Bradley Rivers was also running in the mix with these guys. So, yeah, like you said, it's just these guys have probably made their bed at this point, as we have a few more coming down pit road as we speak. But, yeah, you either choose to come in and undercut it or stay out the whole length that your fuel tank will let you. So we see Joseph Dupont coming down, a good entry into his pit stall to get service on that 88. And here comes our leader, Michael Madden, in the 15 machine, coming down on lap 33 to get his service.
And staying out is going to be Jonathan Byer, so he's going to be the second race leader of the night, picking up a bonus point, and that will help him out as trying to hang on to that number 1 spot, and more importantly, one of the 10 positions that will advance after this opening round. Stan Carnathan making a pit stop as well, giving up a top 10 position. But Jonathan Byer, I'm keeping an eye on who is right behind him, and that's Kyle Wimble. And I'm pretty sure, yep, here comes the 66 to pit road. I'm going to imagine that the 3's actually going to come in with them. So it's going to be Lucas Lyons that's going to pick up the bonus point for leading a lap. I could have sworn that Kyle Wimble would have stayed out one more lap to pick up a bonus point for leading a lap.
That's a big bonus point for Lucas Lyons, too, as he's one of those drivers in the middle of these playoff standings who's trying to keep that top 10 positioning. So could be a big bonus point picked up here for the 7 truck, but I have to imagine that we will see him come down this time by on lap 35. But he's got Brad Herman and Brad Rivers, 2 Next Level Motorsports trucks, sitting behind him. Here comes the 7 for his service.
And I'm not sure how much farther we can go with the 85, and they're coming in with them. Jack Johnson still staying out, so he's going to try to pick up that bonus point. And that's Blair Holloman, who's already made a pit stop. So, yeah, bonus point for Jack Johnson, who's going to lead a lap here. So that's going to be our 4th different leader as we continue to cycle through this green flag pit stops. And he's pushing this right to the edge because I'm not too sure about how much farther he can go, but he's cutting it close.
Well, the thing I'm worried about for Jack Johnson now is that he's going to find himself a lap down after this round of pit stops. He's lost a lot of time to these guys who pitted roughly, 9 laps ago? So, I mean, that's a big, big difference in time. And he's out of fuel, I believe. I see his tachometer sputtering right there.
Yeah, and I mean, when I tested it out earlier, I got about 35 laps. Now, I've been off a couple times because of draft and all that stuff. So I've thought maybe you can get a couple extra laps. But, yeah, we now know 35 laps is about as much as you can get, unless you get a good helping there where you can conserve a lot and maybe stretch it an extra lap. But Sean Jensick going to assume the lead, and it's going to be by a pretty good margin over Michael Madden, about 3-4 seconds.
The back-to-back winner and has the most wins, this season in the Truck Series, finds himself out in front again. Could we see a three-peat here for the 29 machine, coming close to the halfway mark of this race? And Brandon, I'm going to go ahead and jinx it. I really think this is going to be flag-to-flag, green flag action here tonight.
I'm hoping so, because it's been really good racing thus far. And one thing I want to point out, too, yes, the big winner position-wise on the track is Sean Jensen, who takes the lead. But look at the yellow numbers on the left pylon now. Kevin Winker has moved into the 3rd position on track, first in the Lucky Dog battle, 8/10 ahead of Dave Fuge Jr., who's now the runner-up in that Lucky Dog race as we get near halfway.
Yeah, in hindsight's 2020, but I really think that that Brad Rivers needed someone in his ear telling him just how many of these guys outside the playoffs were trying that undercut to get up ahead of him. And now, look, he is all the way back in 14th, going to have to pass 10 trucks to catch up to Dave Fuge and Kevin Winker to get in on this battle. But there you see it. He's in the thick of it back here in 14th. He's got, I believe that's Kyle Wimble, and not sure who is in front of him, trying to get the number. Oh, that's going to be Josh Mueller just in front of him. So 2 tough trucks to pass here that are racing in the playoffs. So they got something they're racing for. And Bradley Rivers is trying to get in on the mix and get in the playoffs as well.
And those 2 in front of them, Wimble and Mueller, their tires aren't much older at all. They're about the same. They all came in about the same lap. So it's not like Brad Rivers has fresher tires to make this pass and get around everybody. And by the time he catches those cars or those trucks that came in earliest, his tires are going to be pretty worn out, and they're about going to be equal with the rest of the field. So not a huge benefit by coming in so much later. And we're seeing how this is going to really play out, that undercut is going to be real powerful here once we get to the second pit stop, should we stay green the rest of the way.
And I'm also noticing on my telemetry, he had a 16-second pit stop too. So not sure if he had some damage to fix or just overshot the stall or what. But yeah, the 69 definitely losing a lot of track position out there after that pit stop. But there you see Kevin Winker now under attack from Blair Holloman. Just Blair Holloman separating the 2 guys battling for the playoff Lucky Dog here, as Dave Hughes Jr. is just behind them.
Close racing here between these 4 drivers, as you also have Mike Mosby in there. Jonathan Byer making his way back up as he's in the 7th position. All 5, 6 of these drivers sitting within a second of each other, as we see Blair Holloman inside and getting by Kevin Winker, and that's going to put our 1 and 2 in the Lucky Dog race nose to tail with each other.
Yeah, Kevin Winker's going to have to be careful to not get that positioning or lose that position, to Dave Hughes Jr. battling with Blair Holloman here. Because if Dave Hughes Jr. gets a nose to that quarter panel, he can possibly get by the 42 here. I believe, I'm trying to look here, he's got 1 lap fresher tires than the 42, so that's not going to help him much. But now he is under attack from Mike Mosby, and that's going to be the difference between him and Kevin Winker after the 99 gets by.
And the crazy thing that they got to think about during all of this, too, is we still got about 20 laps or so left on this tire run if it stays green. So you can't spend all this time burning up your tires trying to race and hold on to one position. That could backfire on you pretty heavily, especially if somebody else that's racing for what you're racing for, whether it's the playoffs or the Lucky Dog, is able to conserve those tires. They'll be so much faster at the end of the run. So I kind of like what Kevin Winker did there. He just backed out a little bit and said, you know what, take that position. That's cool. Gave up those couple spots, knowing that what he's racing for, everybody's still behind him.
Oh, these 2 got to be really careful, as Mike Mosby and Lucas Lyons almost came together there. Lucas Lyons going to get past both of those drivers, Mike Mosby and Dave Hughes Jr. Lucas Lyons moves up to 6, going to set his sights on Kevin Winker to try and move back into the top 5 where he was running before that round of pit stops. But the field is closing in on Sean Jensick. Michael Madden sits just 0.8 of a second behind the 29 and closing ever so quickly here. So I think, we got a truck in the wall. I believe that's Walt Lipicki. Scary moments there as he was stuck on the wall.
Oh, man, he about came right back down in front of Michael Madden, who was our second-place driver. That was a real nervy moment there for the man behind the wheel of the 15, and kind of knocked him off that run that he was having there just a little bit, but he's picking it up pretty quick as a little bit of lap traffic in the way there for Sean Jensick, and you can see how much Michael Madden's closed back in, about a half second here in this lap.
Yeah, not too far behind him at all. And these 2 being teammates, I have to imagine Jensick will not battle Michael Madden too hard, as, the 15 has been the class of the field to this point, qualifying on the pole, leading most of the laps before we went to the round of pit stops not too long ago. So that 15 probably going to reassume the lead here within the next lap as he is closing in only 3/10 now, just splitting him and Sean Jensick. We'll see how much he can close in on the 29 through turns 3 and 4 as they come back to the line this time to take lap 48.
And this is a huge run to the inside for Michael Madden, and it doesn't look like it's going to be much of a fight at all. And you were definitely right on that one, as Madden going to go right by Sean Jensick and retake the lead for the first time in about 15 laps or so, as the green flag pit stops were the only thing that stopped Michael Madden from holding on to that lead. But now he's back out in front and looks like he is real comfortable in that truck.
Yeah, but that's going to have to be something that these guys who stayed out a little longer take note of. It took Michael Madden 15 laps to catch and pass Sean Jensick, so they have to be careful with these trucks, opting to do the undercut and potentially pick up some time on them, because if they stay out like they did last time, they stayed out 35 laps. That's going to get them to lap 70. That's 15 laps. They will not be able to catch the guys that decide to do the undercut. So it's something you're going to have to keep an eye on, Brandon.
Yeah, I think at this point you're going to see most everybody probably come in by about lap 60, maybe 65 if they want to be aggressive. But I think beyond that, it's what you're talking about. There's not enough time to really get the benefit of the fresher tires compared to everybody else. You might be faster for those few laps, but by the time you catch everybody, the race is going to be over. So I think in the next 10 laps we'll see most of, if not the entire field, make a stop. And one thing I did want to touch on for anybody just joining us since the start of the race, that pylon on the left side of the screen, green numbers, playoff drivers, including the race leader Michael Madden and the 15. Yellow numbers are our lucky dog eligible drivers to get that 16th playoff spot. Those red numbers that you saw there on the screen, they are already eliminated from playoff contention. We're not eligible to win the lucky dog.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and ask our producer to go ahead and tune in on the 69 of Brad Rivers here. He is coming quickly, just a second behind Dave Hughes Jr. He's about to pass Kevin Winker here in a set of turns, so maybe opting to do the right strategy. We were hesitant to say it was good to go as he was finding himself way back in traffic, but he is flying by these trucks. There you see it, Kevin Winker just in front of him, and then Dave Hughes Jr., who has that lucky dog spot in that red truck not too far ahead. He's just going to go right on by the 42 instead of sights on these three guys in front of him.
And you're looking at 10-lap fresher tires compared to everybody else. And this is that point in the run where I think it's only going to really work on this pit stop, honestly, this stint, the second stint of the race, because on the third one, there's just not going to be enough time. But this one, it's perfect because he's got those 10-lap fresher tires. Everybody else is starting to fall off pretty heavy. He's just hitting that fall-off point. So he's still going to be about a second or so faster every single lap at this rate. And you're seeing that speed differential. The problem is I don't think he can replicate that in the exact same way on this third stint because it's going to be shorter with everybody else. He's going to have to pit if he tried the same thing on lap 70. And that's what you were talking about. 15 laps, just not enough time.
Right now, he is not worried about it as he is bearing down on Dave Hughes Jr. to reclaim that lucky dog spot, potentially be that 16th playoff driver here in Season 2 of SRN's Truck Playoffs. But we'll keep an eye on Bradley Rivers. Smooth sailing still for Michael Madden out in front. Still 2.5 seconds between him and Sean Jensick. He is just putting a lot of time between him and the rest of the field. Jonathan Byer now 4 seconds back. Lucas Lyons 5.5 seconds back. And then you got Brad Herman, who's in 5th. He's 9.5 seconds back. So he is dusting this field.
And this has just been incredibly impressive from Michael Madden. And, oh, by the way, we're within 5 laps or so of seeing pit stops again. It feels like we just got out of that green flag pit cycle, and we're right back in it. But, yeah, this has just been a very impressive run as Brad Rivers has made the pass now on Dave Hughes Jr. They were having that side-by-side battle now for 6th and 7th for that lucky dog spot, but that's still 10 seconds back behind the race lead. So unlike what we've seen the past few Truck Series races, this field getting real spread out. And there we go, side by side. That for the lucky dog position into the playoffs. And it's going to be Brad Rivers moving into 6th in the race, 1st in the lucky dog race battle.
Yeah, Dave Hughes Jr. not wanting to give that spot up at all, but 7-lap difference in tires is not going to, really put up that much of a fight. He's just going to have to watch that 69 pull away. And I just know from a driver's perspective, that's going to make him want to come down right now and get fresh tires to try and just, do something, throw a Hail Mary, because it ain't going to do it right now with how much time he's about to lose to Brad Rivers on that much difference in the tires.
I'm thinking lap 60 is the right time, and we got people starting to make their way in. It looks like Blair Holloman is coming down pit road, as is Kevin Winker. And so Holloman and Winker are going to make that pit stop. Winker was the first one to make the stop last time, so not a surprise to see him do it again, and it worked real well for him that first time out.
I think it's all going to depend on how long that 69 opts to stay out. I'm telling you, he cannot stay out too much longer than these guys that he's battling with right now, and primarily Kevin Winker and Dave Hughes Jr., as those have been the guys contending with him tonight for that playoff lucky dog. Michael Madden now putting Dom Milkowicz down a lap after he was running in the top 3 to start this race, opting to not get the damage fixed as it's still on the right side of that 33. Smashed in pretty good as he's going to come down this time to get fresh tires. But Michael Madden there now 3 seconds ahead of Sean Jensen.
And you mentioned Tom Milkowitz going a lap down. That's something that we're going to have to start keeping an eye on should a caution come out in these last 25 laps. Hopefully it doesn't happen during this green flag pit stop, cycle, just because I would like to see everybody get rewarded for their strategy. But we're starting to see the numbers build up of trucks that are a lap down. Take out the 2 that already made their pit stop that weren't lapped up before that time. We're down to 21 drivers, really, that are going to be on the lead lap at the end of this cycle. So a third of the field put a lap down with this long run. So should we see a caution after this cycle comes out, there's going to be a big amount of drivers that are going to be stuck a lap down.
Yep, Michael Madden putting his teammate Sean Kosher a lap down, who sits in 20th. But there we see Dave Hughes Jr. making that run. You call it lap 60, coming down to get those 4 fresh tires and fuel to get him to the end. Now is the time we see how long Brad Rivers opts to stay out, but a bunch of drivers coming down. Jacob Zala, Bruce Amsden, I see Jason Kraki, among many others coming down that time. So 60 seeming to be the number to get them to the end. Michael Madden staying out, but can't stay out for too much longer as we're already down to 25 laps to go.
I think he's got to be coming in probably in the next couple laps. It just seems to fit. I want to say it was lap 32 that he came in last time, maybe 31. So I think that's going to be pretty soon as we see Stan Carnathan making his way in. But the one I'm really keeping that eye on now is going to be Brad Rivers in that 69 truck. When is he going to make that stop? Because it seems like it's so short to do it right now because of where he came in last time on lap 36. But at the same time, you got to think of what that third stint is going to be like more than what this current one is. I just don't see the benefit of staying out much longer.
Yeah, we saw Lucas Lyons coming down that time to get his 4 fresh tires and fuel to get him to the end. And you're exactly right. Not sure how long he's going to stay out, but seems like he is not in a hurry to come down pit road. I believe Sean Jensen going to come down pit road this time and we'll see just how many other trucks decide to come down. I believe Jason Kraki coming over comms as well. But yeah, Brad Rivers still staying out there as I'm following him on my screen, and just not really looking like he's planning on coming down anytime soon.
And his big hope, I think, is going to be that a caution comes out here before the time he makes that pit stop. But everybody with those fresher tires, there's going to be a lot of guys getting their lap back pretty soon, just naturally on the track by having so much more pace. So I'm not even sure if a caution is going to be a huge help there as we see more drivers making their way in. Troy Techmeyer this time by giving up the, what was the 9th position on track. But we got 3 lucky dog contenders still on track without making that second pit stop. It's Brad Rivers in the 69, James Kerr in the 75 running an 8th, and Sean Kosher. Actually, Sean Kosher, I believe, no, he did not actually. So Sean Kosher still out there on that original set, and Michael Madden 3 wide outside and backing out of that one there.
Yeah, this is going to make for an absolutely fantastic finish as we see Bradley Rivers still staying out there on the track with 21 laps to go. He's got a lot of guys out here. I'm trying to see where Dave Hughes Jr. is. He's only got 4 laps on his tires. So that is about a second and a half each one of those laps that he's gaining on Bradley Rivers. And that's just time that the 69 is going to have to pick up at the end of this race and might not have enough laps to do so.
There's another great visual of how much faster those fresh tires are as we're talking about it. Jason Kraki just blowing right by the race leader. Race leader Michael Madden, by the way, is faster than Jonathan Byer, who's running in second. He's building that interval by about 0.2 a lap right now, but you could still see how much faster that Kraki was in that pink 54 truck just with those fresh tires. And that's what's going on track between Rivers and both Fuge, as we had Josh Mueller. It looks like he was going through the grass there onto pit road, maybe just kind of inched off it just a little bit. But that same thing that we saw is the difference between Rivers and Winker and Fuge right now with the fresh tires against the old tires.
Bradley Rivers coming down pit road this time. He's coming in with the rest of his Next Level Motorsports teammates as Brad Herman just in front of him. So that is going to be 7-lap differential between him and Dave Fuge Jr. That's going to give the 16 a big lead, but we'll see if Bradley Rivers has enough time to catch back up and get that spot. Here we see Michael Madden hitting from the lead. This time he is going to get on there nice and clean, and Jonathan Byer will take over the lead from Michael Madden.
So second time, Byer going to be the beneficiary of Michael Madden coming in and staying out probably a lap later. I don't think he's going to stay out too much longer because we're starting to get to that point where it's like we've been talking about. There's Kyle Wimble giving up the third position to make his stop. But at this point, you're just getting not much benefit to staying out much longer than this, because it's just going to kind of wash out in the end where you're not really getting that much more speed on anybody else. And by the time you do, it's just not going to be enough time.
Yeah, fortunately for Michael Madden, I think he built himself a big enough lead between him and the rest of the field that, getting kind of close to that 15-lap margin where it took him to catch Sean Jenstig last time, I don't think he'll have to worry about that as much this time by. But we've seen this work out for Jonathan Byer before, opting to stay out in that 66 and it paying off with a caution. His teammate James Kerr also opted to stay out, who's battling to be that fifth truck out of Jonathan Byer Racing to make the playoffs. Here we see Jonathan Byer himself come down pit road, and James Kerr also down pit road.
And he came in just as I was about to say that James Kerr staying out, that's the play I don't mind one bit. Trying to just hope that caution comes out. He's been fourth or fifth fastest throughout this race when it comes to that Lucky Dog race. You got to try something different from everybody else. I had zero problem with James Kerr stretching that out like he did.
This is going to be our leader once he gets by Jonathan Byer here crossing the line. Lucas Lyons, though, his teammate, my pick for the night, just behind him. So Lucas Lyons somehow making up some positions that time on pit road. I believe he may have only taken 2 tires. I'm showing a 10-second pit stop, but that could be wrong. I've had that fail me before. But nonetheless, Lucas Lyons running second just behind his teammate Sean Jensig. Michael Madden now in third.
He is in third, but he's going to have a lot fresher tire. Oh, caution on the track with 16 to go. And that's just going to wipe out everything we were about ready to talk about for this last stint. I heard the spin happen or some damage happen, but we're trying to locate who it exactly was. But yeah, that caution going to change everything here in this race. And now the question is going to be who's going to pit and who's going to stay out. Because if you're Jonathan Byer, James Kerr, Michael Madden, one of those last guys to make that pit stop, I don't think you have to come in. I wouldn't, honestly. Everybody that came in about 10 laps ago, it's time to come into pit road.
Man, this is when it gets really tough for these guys because Jonathan Byer is sitting the prettiest out of all these guys who just came off pit road that time. Michael Madden, though, has 4 laps on his tires, so a little more wear. That could hurt him on this final run. So it's a tough call whether you come down as the 15 and potentially lose all those positions to these guys. But it's just there's so many different strategies being played right now. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to see. What I'm seeing right now on the track, a lot of these guys opting to come down pit road, and there is a big mix of people opting to stay out too. But we're going to try and go ahead and fire up this Beer Street Journal rec replay, see if we can find out exactly what happened. I can tell you that Sean Griffith is working hectically to get this done. I believe it was Matt Johnson that was the cause of the caution in the one machine. I think we'll have it right here. coming off pit road, I'm hearing. Might have got loose on the apron.
Right in front of the leaders. Yeah, came up onto the apron, just clipped it. And that is not going to work too well when you're still accelerating. And at that point, you're probably high up in second gear. I don't think most are getting into third just yet at that point. And just that unbalance while you're revved up, probably about 8,000 RPM at that point. That's just a nightmare that's being asked to have there. And you can see him spinning into that inside wall. Thankfully for guys like Dave Fuge and Michael Madden, he kept it down on the apron and into the inside wall as opposed to coming back up the track. But that was a close moment for our lucky dog leader at that time, Dave Fuge Jr. But after pit stops, Brad Herman going to take the lead. Jonathan Byer second, and new lucky dog leader is going to be Brad Rivers. And that staying out strategy is paying off in dividends right now.
Yeah, Brad Rivers has 6 laps on his tires, probably 5 green flag laps. So some good tires there on the 69 machine. We'll see if he can hold on to it as we'll go back to green with about 12 laps to go, I believe. But he's going to have a battle with his teammate for the lucky dog, as Troy Techmeyer would be the next one in line to be battling him. So we'll see how it works out. We're trying to get a look at how many laps Troy has on his tires. They're a little bit older than Bradley Rivers. So Brad Rivers is going to have a little more speed than that 32 Dave Fuge Jr. now sitting back there in 10th, but he came back on pit road this last time by. Michael Madden also opting to come back down pit road, finds himself back in 9th now. Sean Jensick and Lucas Lyons as well sitting 7th and 8th. So this, like I said, was shaping up to be a heck of a finish. And here we are, Brandon.
This is going to be wild on both fronts. I think in terms of the race, it's anybody's ball game. In terms of the lucky dog, Troy Techmeyer's got 14 laps on his tires right now. I'm not too sure that's going to work out, but I like the idea of trying something different and putting yourself out there in that position. Maybe we see a few more cautions and we don't have a lot of green flag runs to sort this out and the tire wear doesn't become a factor, and he's got a legit shot. But I think Dave Fuge Jr. is in a tremendous position right now in that 10th spot. Kevin Winker as well in 13th with those fresh tires. They're going to be able to make some passes here pretty quickly because that turnover point where the tire fall off starts to happen is a couple laps away for guys like Brad Rivers, who's about 6 green flag laps in.
Well, I think we're going to see those pace car lights go off this time by, and we will get this field gridded back up to go green with Brad Herman leading the way and Jonathan Byer, our first place contender in the playoffs, going to be sitting just to his outside. Bradley Rivers behind his teammate, going to be in 3rd. Joseph Dupont, a surge up to the top 5, going to be sitting in 4th. And Kyle Wimble going to be rounding out the top 5 as we go back to green here. But we're going to have 11 laps to sort this thing out. It's going to be a good one if it stays green.
Something to keep in mind. We still got 7 lucky dog eligible drivers inside the top 20 right now. 5 of them are going to be on new tires for this final 12 or 11 lap shootout. So this is going to be a real interesting time. The problem that they're going to have is they're going to have to wear out those tires getting by a lot of trucks to catch up to Brad Rivers. Brad Rivers on those worn tires, that's going to be a different battle that he's going to have just trying to hang on and still trying to be aggressive to hold on to that top spot in terms of the lucky dog. Brad Herman and Jonathan Byer, I mean, there's not many laps on their tires. They're going to be about level with everybody that just came in.
Let's get this thing finished and see who will be the final contender in the playoffs this season. Will it be Bradley Rivers? Gives a shot to his teammate to get going, and they were definitely working together. Bradley Rivers is going to be up to 2nd now as they clear Jonathan Byer easily. Kyle Wimble gets turned. Oh, that's Sean Jensick involved here.
Well, back up. Mike Mosby caught up in it against the wall. Doesn't look like anybody else really got heavily in that, actually, which is amazing that we didn't see a huge pileup going into one. Looks like it's about 3 drivers really affected, all playoff drivers, though.
Our back-to-back winner from the last 2 weeks involved in this one. Let's go ahead and check out a Beer Street Journal rec replay to see exactly what happened here on this first restart of the night, as that was our first caution of the night right before that. So we'll see exactly what happened between the 3 and the 29 once we get it queued up here for you guys.
As we work through that, one thing to point out, now we're going to see that front row. There we go. I'll come back to that here in a second, but let's take a look at this restart again, and Kyle Wimble's going to be in that white and purple truck, third on the inside, and Sean Jensick's going to be there. He's going to, that might have been some net code, because he tried to get that run going to the inside, not quite onto the apron, but they did not really make contact there. That's a tough break for 3 playoff drivers, as Mike Mosby got collected in that as well. We'll take a better look at it, but I don't think there's contact here. Yeah, maybe actually. Yeah. So the chase cam gives us that better look at it, and there you see Mike Mosby just nowhere to go.
Yeah, we're really unfortunate for Kyle Wimble finding himself running in the top 5. Gets a little bit of contact there, as Sean Jensick was looking to make a move down on the apron, which drivers do here at Kentucky, but not really seeing where the bumper was there. Gets into the 3 of Kyle Wimble, and Wimble going to have to get that damage fixed and get back out there, as we will still have about 6 or 7 laps to sort this thing out. But right now, it's a Next Level Motorsports 1-2. Jonathan Byer, though, still just sitting pretty there in 3rd. Joseph Dupont hanging on to 4th, and now Michael Madden with those fresh tires up to 5th.
Well, and the person that wanted to see that caution the least that wasn't involved in it is going to be either Dave Fuge Jr. or Kevin Winker, because that just cuts down on the time that they have to take advantage of the fresher tires catching up to that 69 truck. That's going to be in 2nd now with Brad Rivers. So that is the caution that Brad Rivers wanted just as much as that last one that came out before it. This race is playing out perfect for him to get that lucky dog. When it comes to the race, keep your eye on that 15 truck right now, because Michael Madden picking up a few extra spots. He's got the freshest tires out there among the race leaders, and now he's going to be sitting 3rd in line on the inside. That's a dangerous position for everybody else up front.
Yeah, he is going to be the one to watch here once we go back to green, but Jonathan Byer still has some fresh tires too, so that's going to be the battle here if it stays green all the way to the end. But that's the thing, will it stay green? As we have a lot to race for in these last couple of laps. We keep mentioning it to you guys. We got the playoff lucky dog with those drivers there in yellow. 4 of them sitting inside the top 10. And we also have a battle now with the drivers in green. The playoffs have started, and these guys are trying to work their way into the next round by getting inside the top 10. So every position matters. That tension is ramping up here as we near the end here.
Oh, yeah, you can feel it. Just everything on edge right now. There's a lot of drivers that are in that point of, you know what, I'm having a great night thus far points-wise. I'm good where I am, but there's going to be some aggressive guys trying to do what they got to do to gain as many points as possible. It just makes a real uncomfortable moment for such a short sprint to close out this race, as we're going to have 6 laps remaining in this one by the time we go green.
All right, well, we will see if the pace car lights go off this time to start gritting up our field, potentially make a run to the end. But how about it for Brad Herman? Gets himself in that last spot into the playoffs last week, sitting in 1st. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bobby Anderson's truck. And he's always got the really cool-looking trucks out there, and this one living up to the hype out of Bobby Anderson Racing. Looks good in that flavor bomb machine.
Definitely hard to miss that 18 truck today. He's got the brightest truck that we'll see out there as they start getting side by side to get ready 1 lap to green. But a great looking flavor bomb truck there for Bobby Anderson, running in 12th. And you know what? This just kind of feels what he did last year in the playoffs. Just kind of sit there in that good enough position to just keep advancing and then find himself in that championship race.
Yeah, sometimes it's all you got to do. Is consistency is key, and he might be finding himself in that final round this year with a good run through these final 7. races. But here we are going side by side all the way through the field. Pace car lights are off. We're going to go back to green as we are gridding this field back up, and it's going to be a heck of a finish. All sorts of strategies taking place out there on the track right now. All sorts of chaos as well, as we've had 2 back-to-back cautions after about 65, 70 green flag laps to start this race. So we'll see if we can get that green flag stint to the end and find ourselves a winner here at Kentucky tonight.
Yeah, come on, guys. Let's see this thing go green to the finish. This is looking to be just a fantastic finish if we get that done.
Pace car is off. Brad Herman going to likely be working with his teammate Bradley Rivers there in the 69 on this restart. And there you see it. They both get a really good jump on the rest of the field. Bradley Rivers has to be careful not to tuck in too early behind Brad Herman, because that could be a penalty. Might be something these admins might take a look at as he dropped down a lane a little bit too early. But right now, not worried about that at all, as they are nose to tail. So Jonathan Byer closing in quickly.
Man, that's a big run once again. Now looking to the inside. So the 66 of Jonathan Byer trying to take that second position, and that would be great news for Troy Techmeyer, who's in 7th, Dave Fuge in 18th. If he can just kind of hold that 69 up on the high line and get everybody a shot at him that's up in those lucky dog standings, we might have a race for that. But it's right now Brad Herman that's looking real good out in front. As the second place race is real tight, and that's just going to give him that edge to pull away.
Yeah, the 69 Bradley Rivers has to be careful, though, with the blocking that he's doing, because he will get moved. And Jonathan Byer could end his chances of making the playoffs. But Michael Madden making a move to the outside. They make contact. That's going to collect Joseph Dupont.
Madden somehow saves it. Dupont through the grass. We're still green. But Joseph Dupont is going to take a huge hit, as that was just heavy blocking for second by Brad Rivers, and you can't really blame him trying to hang on to every position he can and try to get that lucky dog, but that really caused that dicey moment, and here comes Lucas Lyons looking for that second spot.
Yeah, Bradley Rivers has to be careful here with how hard he's racing these guys. He could be seeing his playoffs vanish right before his eyes if he gets caught up with these guys that he's racing with really tightly right now. Lucas Lyons not going to have to, Dave Fuge Jr. sneaking up now. This is the race for Lucky Dog, and Jonathan Byer hits Bradley Rivers. Dave Fuge Jr. gets past the 69. Dave Fuge Jr. now our playoff Lucky Dog. Techmeyer gets into his teammate. Everybody in the 69.
Oh, he saved it.
Wow. No words right there, but we are 2 laps to go. Bradley Rivers falls all the way back to 16th, loses his opportunity to be that playoff lucky dog. But Brad Herman running away with this race. Just 2 laps to go. If Lucas Lyons can catch him, it would be a heck of a feat. 9/10 of a second, almost a second back of this 85.
And while this looks solidified, coming to the white flag, Stan Carnathan is pulled right behind Dave Fuge Jr. That'll be for the 16th playoff spot. So there he is, about 3, 4, or 5 truck lengths behind Dave Fuge with 1 lap to go.
Oh, this is nerve-wracking for these guys looking to get in on that action to battle for that $300. But right now, Brad Herman does not have to worry about that, as he's already in the playoffs. Let's keep an eye on these two. Dave Fuge Jr. still about 2 truck lengths between him and Stan Carnathan. Stan going to need a big mistake out of Dave Fuge Jr. Looks like it's going to go to Dave. But Brad Herman will be our winner tonight for the BlueGrass 125. And there you see Dave Fuge Jr. now in the playoffs.
Man, what a finish. That was absolutely wild. We saw trucks sideways pretty often there. And that last little 6-lap sprint, everybody still keeping it straight somehow. But it's Brad Herman taking the win. Dave Fuge Jr. going to be the second happiest man tonight, as he's going to find himself in the playoffs, and pretty well deserved after the run he's put together the past few weeks, especially last week.
Brad Herman getting a little love tap from his teammate Stan Carnathan. Want to give Stan a shout out, a good buddy of mine, and that is a career best finish for him, coming home in 5th. But right now, the honor goes to Brad Herman. He will get to celebrate here at Kentucky for his 2nd win on the season, claiming the first win of the playoffs for these Truck Series drivers. And that is exactly what the 85 needs to kick off a heck of a run, maybe towards a championship here in SRN.
Man, just a fantastic performance, and that wasn't somebody that we really talked about a whole lot up until that caution came out, the first one tonight, but the strategy that he had just paid out perfectly with how that caution came out. Decided to make the call to stay out on tires that were about 5-6 laps old, and that was right at that verge of where you're having to really make a choice. Newer than that, you were probably fine. Older than that, you had to come in, but he was right on that cut point of when he really needed to make that decision of pit or not, and he chose correctly. And Brad Herman's going to find that 85 in victory lane.
Well, let's go ahead and give you a rundown of our top 20 here tonight. And let's see it. Brad Herman coming home in first. Lucas Lyons going to be just behind him, coming home in second. Jonathan Byer going to round out our podium tonight in third. Dave Hughes Jr. coming home in fourth. And Stan Nathan going to round out our top 5.
Quiet night, but a good finish for Jacob Zala, finishing in the 6th position. Troy Techmeyer will hold on to 7th. Kevin Winker, another good run tonight. At times leading that Lucky Dog race, will be in 8th. Bobby Anderson, just captain consistency when it comes to the playoffs, in 9th. And Blair Holloman will round out the top 10.
Coming home in 11th will be Josh Mueller in the 26 Tank Racing Machine. Jason Kraki coming home in 12th. Jack Johnson, 13th. Bradley Rivers had that run towards that playoff Lucky Dog, finding himself in some trouble, coming home in 14th. Also, Dom Milkowicz coming home in 15th, finds himself in the same boat.
Bruce Amston will see his playoff Lucky Dog hopes end as well in 16th. Kyle Wimble will rebound from that caution that came out on the second caution after that restart in 17th. James Kerr will be in 18th. AJ Pritchett will be in 19th, and rounding out the top 20 will be Rob Yost.
Well, let's go ahead and bring up Dave Hughes Jr. A little unorthodox, as we usually only interview the top 3, but this man has just raced his way into the playoffs. Dave, tell us how you're feeling, man.
I can hardly breathe right now. That was a very tense last couple laps. I really thought I was in the position I needed to be in with fresh tires. I knew those guys up front hadn't pitted, and after about 8 laps, they really started to fall off. So I thought the numbers were there, but I got to be honest with you, those guys, like the 32 and the 69, they were still faster than I thought they would be on the older tires. So man, just exciting. I had to break out the old truck for good vibes tonight, the old 16 IWX Motor Freight Chevrolet Silverado, and here we are. We made it in. Woo!
And it is well-deserved to get that 16th spot. You had a ton of momentum, especially after last week. But how was the intensity of that race? Because I know on the Xfinity side, it was the race winner that was the Lucky Dog, and in the Cup side, it was kind of pretty well-decided at one point. But in this race, we still saw 7-8 guys still have a legit shot all close to each other. How was that intensity feeling as that race played out?
I'm telling you, it was 85 laps of high-speed chess, just knowing, when was the right time to pit, to gain some track position. You're, a couple laps ahead, so you're just praying that you don't get a caution and get you stuck down, because, that would have ruined it right there. But really, Kevin Winker was kind of setting the pace on that. He was the first one that jumped in both times, and I knew with him and I basically running together that I was going to need to stay with him. And so I gave him about a 3-lap head start on that last one. But 69 was good. He pitted later in the sequence, but was able to catch us on older tires. So I think that if it had gone green, I think I would have had a pretty good cushion. But it definitely made it interesting with the caution. Kind of had to kind of flip. But if it was going to go green, I think I had a pretty good hold on it.
Well, congratulations on making it into the playoffs. Before we let you go and send you back down to celebrate with Zuyos, you got anybody you want to go ahead and give a shout-out to? Any thank yous?
Yeah, obviously Diamond Motors, they've been with me all year long. Not on this truck, though, but, they're my primary sponsor, Diamond Motors. Find that diamond in the rough up there in Lakewood, Washington, looking for a used car. Can't thank my wife enough, Rebecca, for, letting me do this and, have fun with my hobby, and, all the guys at Zuyos, Rob and Blair and Mike, great team. And I can't wait till next season with these guys because I think we're going to make some noise. We're really starting to mesh pretty well. So watch out for that team championship.
Yeah, well, already making some noise this year. Look forward to seeing what you can do in the playoffs, man. But we'll send you back down to your teammates to go have some fun and celebrate. And have a good night, man.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, well, that was our playoff lucky dog winner. A heck of a race to figure out who that would be. So congrats again to Dave Hughes Jr. But let's go ahead now and bring up our third place finisher tonight. That's going to be Jonathan Byer in the 66 machine. He was our top contender in the playoffs and proves why tonight, leads a lot of laps, comes home in third. Jonathan, congrats on a good finish tonight. Tell us how you're feeling, man.
Well, as a team owner, I'm going to have some fires to put out after this one. We'll say that. The racing was good, though. It was good to have that long green flag run to start. It kind of played into our strategy of just saving our stuff and going a little bit longer to see if we can get some lucky breaks. And if we can't, we at least come out with a little bit fresher tires. And that was working out great for us at the end. And that caution came out with Matt there, and I was just coming off pit road. So I was lined up there in the front with the freshest tires as far as the guys that pitted there. And once you get at the end, it's just everything's bottled up and it's chaos. And unfortunately, that took a couple of our trucks out tonight. And I kind of ruffled some feathers as well, which I never like to do, but it's playoff time. You got to do what you got to do to get a solid finish and get us up there and maintain our team points standing. So all in all, third, we'll take it. Obviously, we'd like more JBR trucks up front, but we'll work on that next week.
Okay, third, nothing to sniff at, though. So, 2 races left in this round. How you feeling? Looking forward to the rest of this opening round.
The tracks in it are going to be good for us. We're feeling pretty solid. They all kind of play into our strategy as far as what we like to do, because most of them are tire dependent from here on out, which is just something we work on. Biggest thing is just going to be half luck and half staying out of people's minds, if that makes sense. You don't want to be being hunted by somebody else because you ruffled some feathers here. So we're going to try to put those fires out before things get too far. And we'll apologize to those drivers and try to make amends man to man. But, it's time to go. It's cutthroat time. We got to do what we got to do to get up front.
Well, you know the drill. You've been up here quite a bit this season. You got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, family watches every week. We appreciate them. Had a bunch of teammates in the college bowling team watching tonight. We appreciate their support, and hopefully that was a good show for them. And then our team sponsors, Bowlify is always on my truck every week. Couldn't do this without them. Powered us with some Glitch Energy tonight, some pink lemonade, so go get you some Glitch. And we have a cool sponsor announcement coming out here in a couple weeks, so stay tuned for that.
All right. Well, we're always looking forward to seeing the next thing that comes out of Jonathan Byer Racing. But, Jonathan, we'll send you back down to your teammates. Go celebrate the third place finish, man, and a good start to your playoffs. And have a good night, man.
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow night.
All right, buddy. All right. Well, there was Jonathan Byer coming home in third tonight. So congratulations to him, as always. Let's go ahead now and bring Lucas Lyons up to the booth here. And Lucas, it's Greg and Brandon up in the booth, coming home in second place tonight for the first playoff race here in the SRN Truck Series. Tell us how you're feeling after that one.
Honestly, it's my home state track, and it feels really good bringing home P2. But before we go any further, there is something I really want to touch on. I know many of y'all might have saw a different kind of hood that I ran this race. Daniel Keith Jr. actually shared in his Xfinity Series chat that his stepdad is actually getting shipped to Florida for his fight with cancer. So I just wanted the whole family to know that many of us in the Truck Series is really hoping for a healthy recovery for him. I ran his name above my window net, prayed for Ken on the side of it, had a different decal that Bobby Anderson actually made, and it feels really good to me to bring home his name on my truck in P2.
Yeah, that was definitely something we touched on, and definitely a classy gesture there. And, as we said earlier, also definitely have Daniel Keith Jr.'s family in our thoughts. But no real easy transition there, but to kind of look ahead, off to a great start here after that opening race of 3 here in this first round. Have Auto Club and then Indy coming up. How do you feel about these last 2 races here in this first round?
These last 2 races, I feel a little bit more comfortable at Indy because it's a little bit closer to home. I've actually ran that racetrack a little bit more than I've actually ran that of Auto Club, so I'm hoping for a better finish at Auto Club. To me, well, not Auto Club, Indianapolis, but to me, the wild card this round's actually Auto Club by how draft dependent it is and stuff like that. So this P2's really means a lot for my playoff chances because I didn't have Auto Club circled at all this season.
Well, you're 1 spot away from getting that first win. We look forward to seeing if you can do that next week, Lucas. But before we let you go, you got any sponsors, any friends, any family that you want to give a shout out to?
First, I want to thank Long MacArthur, Sparkle and Shine, Silverback, my mom and dad, my brother who actually watched this race tonight. Basically, my second father figure of Frank Clary who watched tonight. People who actually race V8 Supercars and the Team Year 1 who actually tuned in, supported me in the chat, which I really appreciate, and Daniel Keith Jr. for sharing his story about his stepdad.
Well, yeah, we're all keeping Daniel Keith's family in our thoughts and prayers, obviously, here at SRN. One big family here. But, Lucas, we appreciate you running that on your hood this week, and you put it in second place. So congrats again. We're going to send you back down to your Rev Racing teammates to go celebrate, maybe have some fun with those guys tonight. So congrats again, and we'll see what you can do next week, Lucas.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I accidentally moved myself out of the chat room. So that was Lucas Lyons coming home in second. Let's go ahead and see if we can find Brad Herman to bring him up into the booth. Here he is, Brad Herman, our winner tonight for the BlueGrass 125. Brad, it's Greg and Brandon up here in the booth. Congrats on your second win of the season. Tell us how it feels to get the first one in the playoffs.
Oh man, I tell you what, it wasn't really deserved, but I'll take it. Anything helps, especially going towards the playoffs and the championship. Really just got lucky on pit strategy there. Was probably top 5 truck, and pit strategy worked out.
And I was real curious because you were kind of on that teetering point where I think everybody that came in before you really had to make that pit stop when that caution came out, and everybody that came in after you really didn't have to, but you were in that spot where you were kind of in limbo. What went into that decision there of deciding to stay out?
I mean, I had a couple laps on my tires. I didn't think that many people would pit. I saw everybody pit, and I wind up being the leader, and I just ran with it. A lot of thanks to Brad Rivers for doing the blocking and the dirty stuff for me. Just let me get out a big lead and hold on to it because I was not the fastest truck tonight.
Well, hey, they say it's better to be lucky than good sometimes, and that pays off here at Kentucky for you, Brad. But before we let you go here, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
I got to thank MTC Esports and TJ's team. I also got to thank Next Level Racing. I got to thank Michael Kinsley for the paint job on this truck. It's badass. If you ever need any paint designs, definitely hit him up. I think he's the best out there. And got to thank you guys on the booth every week. You guys do an awesome job.
We appreciate it, man. You guys give us a lot to talk about out there on the track. So congrats again on your second win of the season. And we look forward to seeing if you can bust out some more here as we move on in the playoffs. So go have fun celebrating with the teammates, man, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, well, that was that, Brandon. Or that's going to wrap it up for the trucks tonight at Kentucky. What did you think of that one? Only 2 cautions for 8 laps, 8 lead changes out there, and a whole lot of tempers, too, after a wild finish.
Yeah, a whole lot of tempers, and that's after race 1 of the playoff, and might make it interesting here moving forward into week 2 and 3 of this opening round. But yeah, that was a tremendous race, a whole lot of strategy, and if you're a fan of drama, those cautions kind of played out at the perfect times to set that up, as we had a chaotic finish there. It just makes you look forward to next week when we go to California for the second race here in the opening round.
Yeah, you see it right there. Week number 2 of the round of 15, really the 16, as we got our 16th driver, Dave Hughes Jr., vying for that $300 prize to these guys. So we'll see how he fares in this race to the end. But yeah, catch the Golden State 130 at Auto Club next Wednesday, October 27th, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, as always. But we got a race tomorrow, Brandon, out here in Kentucky with the Xfinity Series going into week 2 playoff action.
Yeah, there's no more lucky dog entry. The field is set now for all the 3 series, including tomorrow night's Xfinity Series. Personally, I won't be part of that playoff race, which kind of stinks. But I'll be cheering on, you and all of my teammates at least as well. I have to get that out there also. But yeah, it's going to be a real interesting race as we take on Kentucky in cars that will not handle as well as these trucks do, which is going to make that quite interesting. How are you feeling going into that one?
I'm feeling like I'll be joining you soon, watching all these playoff drivers. As we had a little bit of bad luck last week, but we're still going to keep our heads held up high here. Go hit the practice session at Kentucky right after this broadcast. See what we can get out of the 31, but it's going to be a great race. These cars are a lot of fun, and it's just the action's just ramping up as everything's on the line for everybody here in Speed Racing Network. But do catch us out there tomorrow, October 21st, 8:30 p.m. Central Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And as always, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you know when we go live, and you can catch all the action here on Speed Racing Network. But that's going to do it for us tonight. And for my co-commentator, Brandon Domain, I'm Greg Olenek, and our producer, Sean Griffith, behind the scenes. That's going to do it for us. As always, good night and go faster.